Oh, okay. So grew up outside of Philly, so you know how that goes.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, that's better than being a Cardinal fan.
Oh, that's true. That's true. My daughter lived in Illinois for a while, and I don't know, Salt Lake was or St. Louis was an hour or 2 hours away. The only thing she ever went to was she would go down to watch when the Flyers played the Blues because she was a Flyers fan. So,
Oh, okay.
so
Very good.
anyway, so I'm recording this. I'll get into a few things, but as a quick review, first off, this is the second week of 4 week refresher course on Financial Peace University. Last week's, I had a problem with the link, so I think I have it fixed. So I'll send you out both links.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so so last week we went over budgeting and some things. And I'm going to do some review on the budgeting because I'm not sure that I really covered it well enough last week. Um, but uh, in review, a budget has to be a zero-based budget, and for that to happen, we just need to tell every dollar where it's supposed to go. Okay, and so now I'm going to share my screen here. This is what I use. That's going to work or not. Okay, so can you see this week? It's called a weekly allocated spending plan.
Yes.
Okay, so this intimidates some people, but it's broken out into four um, weeks.
I
Uh,
like that.
huh?
I do like that better than the monthly. I struggle with the monthly.
Yes. This seems to work for a lot of people. If you're good at Excel spreadsheets, then you know how to delete lines and stuff like that. And so, as with anything else, when I teach, we start with the pay period dates, the income, and the remaining from previous week, that will carry over after the first week. Okay, so there's a formula um, in this cell, and this cell.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's supposed to be. Where did it go? Yeah. Oh, okay. This was my working copy, so I need to add the formula back into that one. But um, so and a lot of folks will use the projected income if they're on salary. Um, uh, it's easier to figure out hourly. Excuse me. They'll have to figure that out weekly, and then obviously tithes and charity and offerings. Two separate lines. Um, then then into the savings. So the concept and the thought process is there. Number one, you do your tithes and offerings because that's God ordained, and then
Mm-hmm.
then you pay yourself. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a line here for sinking funds, tires for the car, or things like that, vacation, whatever you have. So there's plenty of lines there for that,
Okay.
and then gets into housing, first mortgage. Hopefully, there's not a second mortgage, and this would be first mortgage or rent. Any taxes now, and this is for folks who pay the taxes separately. A lot of times, or most times, on a mortgage, it's included in your principal and interest and all that kind of good stuff. Any association dues, so it'd be homeowner association or anything like that, and then any other expenses on housing. Then we break out the utilities. Like for example, where we live, all my utilities are on one bill. Um, Water, sewer, electric, all that stuff. They come on one bill. That
Mm-hmm.
comes through the company that we lease from. So I only have one line. Then the phone, internet, cable, and any other utilities that might come in there. So when it comes to the food, we thought twice about this when we were building the sheet. This was built with input from about 6 or 8 different Ramsey coaches.
Mm.
Um, we put restaurants under the food category because it's going to replace a meal that you would cook at home. pure and simple. If you go
Right.
out to dinner, okay. So we thought that, and with that, if you're budgeting for it, then that's where it should go.
Hmm.
Um, does not. I'll get into other stuff. Then clothing. So you have kids,
Yes.
they grow. You've got to buy clothes.
Yes.
So it needs to be budgeted for.
Well,
Um,
school clothes coming up.
right. Um, and then I used to when I sold a lot and I had shirts that need to be starched and all that kind of stuff. I took them to the cleaners. I mean, I had a dry cleaner in Cheyenne who would wash and put a mild starch and iron my shirts for like $1.99 a shirt. I can't do it for
Nice.
that. I
Yeah,
haven't found
that's
anybody like
great.
that down here, and I wear polos more. So things like that. I don't know, if you do any laundry, but always budget that in. Transportation. This is where your gas, repairs and tires. So this should be. It's not necessarily a sinking fund, but it would be a fund that would be attached to your checking account, your primary account, or whatever, along with. So I don't know. I know our credit union up in Cheyenne. I could have a ton of. They call them
Hmm.
S2 accounts. Okay, and so you just name them, and so. For example, we bought tires on both the vehicles in I want to say November, somewhere thereabouts. Uh, so both those sets of tires, because based on the mileage that we put on, they're going to last for 3 or 4 years. Okay, so basically, my tire budget is like $20 a month, 25
Okay.
bucks a month. I look at the difference. So I could have put Michelin on the Murano. It's a SUV. It's a not really an SUV. It's cross cabriolet. So it's a Murano convertible. Okay, um, and the Michelin's would have been $1,200.
Mm.
Yeah, $1,200. But a good friend of mine has Express Oil and Tire Engineers in Oldsmar, Jason Nastasi, and I went to him and said, "Okay, I want the best tire I can get on this without going into a Michelin." Well, I got Falcons on there, and they're 50 or 60,000 mile tires. They will definitely last me 3 or 4 years. Okay,
Mm.
so and quite a bit less money, about half the price. Okay, same way with the Toyota. Keep them rotated and balanced. They're gonna last the full time 40, 50,000 miles, 60,000 miles. If you're license and taxes, it's not that expensive here. I think I think between the two vehicles, it doesn't cost us $300. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
so that's not a whole lot of money for me to budget each month. In Wyoming, it's a different story because it was based on the year, based on the value, and a license could cost. I think we were paying like $350 a year on each car,
Mm.
but um, we also only had 3% or 4% state sales tax. So it's all
Right.
relative.
They have to make it up somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, if you're going to replace the car, that should be a budget item. Um, Tolls. I used to drive Rita to work when she worked downtown, so it was our time together, our quiet time together, and so I would drive her down and pick her up, and so we had to count on the tolls,
Oh, right.
and then any other lines that you might think of in your um, repairs and tires. Now, I have one gal who she puts like wiper blades, and she has a sinking fund here for brakes because she knows that last time she was in that Jason told her that it's probably going to be 3-4 months you're going to need brakes. Well, brake job's going to
Hmm.
cost you about $600 anyway. So
Hmm.
um,
Batteries. For us, it's batteries that we seem to go through so
yeah,
fast.
yeah.
Yes.
So and then medical and health, your medications. Now, um, with what I'm going through with um, the cancer and some allergy stuff and things like that, I have a monthly budget for what it's going to cost me for my medication. So I know what it's going to cost me every month. Um,
Mm,
the doctor bills, some of them have a copay and some don't. Now, like tomorrow, I'll go to two different doctors. They both have copays.
right.
But I shouldn't have to see them again probably a year. Um, the, the, uh, the orthopedic surgeon will probably release me. Um, the oncologist is going to have me come back in a year. Dentist, I don't put anything in the dentist because my wife's a hygienist. She works for Smile Design, and I don't pay.
Oh, nice.
So um,
Very good. That's a
we
good
do,
benefit.
yeah, yeah. Um, eye doctors, eyeglasses. I buy readers. I probably should have glasses for distance, but I'm able to pass the eye test all the time, so I'm not going to worry about it. Vitamins, we probably spend about 150 to $200 on different supplements. Some of them are uh, preventative, as far as cancer preventative and stuff like that we've researched and we decided to buy. So, and then
Mm,
any other medical bills. Okay, so what I'll put in here is they're gonna do allergy shots. Well, my copay is $5. So, but I think it's every 2 weeks, something like that. So I'll put that in there.
okay.
Um, chiropractor. So we go to the chiropractor every week. So we'll put that. That would go in here. So
Hmm.
and any other medical or health related things that you'll put in there. If you um, uh, um, and I'm not sure where we put. Okay, so we would put our yeah, this that's where we put our uh, Rita does Pilates. Okay, and so that would go in there. I go down to Anytime Fitness, so that goes in there. Um,
Hmm.
now, if your insurances come out of the paycheck, then obviously you wouldn't put them in there because you're
Yes,
putting
they
your
do.
net in
Yeah, for us,
anyway.
they do.
Um, but if you pay them separately, life insurance, health insurance, homeowners, renters insurance, your car insurance, any disability, identity theft, and long-term care. Those are the primary insurances that we recommend anyway, and that's why there's no extra lines.
Okay.
So now I do know that some folks they're really big on like these like Aflac type stuff,
Hmm.
and the if you have good health insurance and you have your emergency funds built up, then you're kind of wasting your money with Aflac.
Right. Right.
Okay, so then you get into the personal side of it, child care, need babysitter, toiletries. Now I do have some who bulk like the toiletries, cosmetics, and stuff like that all together because um, one couple goes to Sam's Club, that's and they get all that stuff at Sam's Club. So um, if you are taking any classes, any kind of education, continuing education, or anything like that, um, and books and supplies for that, if you have child support, alimony. Now, in this area, you and you can change all these categories. I mean, it's not they're not locked. Okay,
Hmm.
so if
Hmm.
you don't have these expenses, but you have other expenses you want to put in there, here's what a lot of people miss is subscriptions. They signed up for something, they get it every month, and it comes out of their paycheck, out of their checking account every month, and they just forgot about it.
Right.
And so, um, any kind of dues to organizations. So this is where this line here is where um, Christmas comes December 25th every year, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so that should be a budgeted item. And you have 4 or 5 kids, right?
7.
Seven. Wow, that could get expensive.
Yes.
So um,
It does. Yes.
yeah, and so if you budget for it, then you're in good shape. Furniture replacement. This was something that we didn't even think about, but we moved down here from Cheyenne, so we were talking about the furniture the other day. So it's we like our set, but it's a microfiber,
Hmm.
and it's great in Wyoming because it gets cold. It
Right.
doesn't get cold here, okay?
Right.
So we know we're going to have to replace the furnace. This is something that people always forget, and that is Dave calls it blow money, but basically pocket money. So
Right.
we pull X amount every 2 weeks for each one of us, and she never asks what I do with mine. I never ask what she does with hers.
Mm.
Entirely, it's just it's your money. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I had I had a couple I was working with in Cheyenne before we moved down here, and great couple. When you look at them, you think, how did they ever get together? Okay, but but they have worked through some crazy stuff. Well, he had always lived in, I don't want to call it poverty, but sometimes not knowing where the next meal was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he kept his money and he carried it with him everywhere he went.
Mm.
Well, she did and she didn't. She always had some left over and stuff like that. But they were tight on something and they needed money for some. I can't remember what it was. They messed up on the budget. And anyway, um, uh, she went to look in his pants pocket for something and found the money. And she
Oh.
freaked out, and he freaked out, and so they called me, and I'm like, well, "Wait a minute, Chris, where'd the money come from?" "Well, it's my pocket money." I said, "Aaron, you don't have any right to that money." "Yeah, but," I said, "No, no, 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 no. Yeah, but if you messed up the budget, you messed up the budget, and if Chris wants to put that to the budget, that's his option. Otherwise, guys got to figure out what you're going to do with it." "Yeah,
Mm.
but yeah, but," I said, "There's no yeah buts. It's his money." And then that's when it came out, the fear that he had. It's that fear of poverty. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
uh, and they actually talked about stuff they had never talked about before. So then it really opened her eyes to where he was coming from when it came to money.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
they needed that confrontation to get over the hump of an issue between them.
Right.
So baby supplies, pet supplies. If you have pets, you got to
Yes.
vet.
And they just cost a lot of money, don't they?
They do. They do. So,
Yes. Food
um,
and flea medication.
yep,
And if we decide to have them groomed here and there, oh my goodness.
yep. I know. I know. We ours. If we don't take him in every 4 weeks, he's a mess.
Ah,
He's a Yorkie, and I can't remember. There's a specific breed of Yorkies that he is, and his hair it's thick and long, and
oh, okay.
so you have to budget that in.
Yes.
Now, the music and technology thing that's thrown in there. Um, it was one of those when people were paying to download songs and all that kind of stuff. So that's when
Right,
that came
right.
in, and then any technology upgrades or um, things like that. And then the
Well,
miscellaneous
they can
cat.
still pay for Spotify or i music or iTunes or whatever. That
What's
could
that?
still be applicable.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
could, if you choose to pay for Spotify or
right,
iTunes.
right. And the other thing that up here, when you get into utilities that people forget under other or cable net or internet is um, Roku or
Hmm.
Amazon Prime or any of those things. So you got to make sure you get those in there also.
Right.
Uh,
I have our YouTube TV and CBS that come out automatically and
okay,
have those on ours.
okay. So entertainment then, and there's plenty of miscellaneous. There's plenty of other categories there. Then entertainment, vacation should be planned for. Um, and then you get into the debts. So car payments, um, depending on how many cars you have, how many payments you have. Credit cards, what I would do here is I would take them and I would put, Amex, and I would put the smallest one first so that you have an idea with your debt snowball. If you have any student loans, and then any other debts, and obviously there's, uh, plenty of categories there.
Mm-hmm.
You can shorten the sheet up when you get everything on it, by deleting a row. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't delete too many um, until you've got your budget down and you're really sure of what you got going on. So
Right.
if you're interested in this, I can send you a blank one.
Oh, that'd be great. Yes,
Oh,
please.
okay.
Yeah,
Um,
because like I said, I do really like the 4 week setup rather than a monthly, because for me, I don't know, I would just rather look, or even every 2 weeks, because we
right,
work on the
right.
when Jason gets paid,
Right.
bi-weekly. So for me, I have to break it down by how we get paid rather than monthly. I don't know, the
Yeah.
monthly part seems hard for me.
And that's why we came. Like I said, a bunch of us got together and had a bunch of input, and then somebody who was a real whiz with um, uh, Excel put that all together.
Okay,
But they
great.
did miss that one. There was a working copy. They missed that one um, uh, carryover weekly spend sheet. So with that, that's how you get to a zero-based budget. And so you should know. So if you have, and just using simple numbers, you have $1,000 come in, you go all the way down, and you take care of the four walls first. You plug those numbers in, then your tithes and your gifts and stuff like that, and then when you get down to the debts, you look at you plug in first the minimum payments, and then you look at, okay, so it was $1,000. I've got everything covered, rent's covered, everything's in there, four walls, and I have an extra $25. Where does that go? It goes to the smallest debt.
Mm-hmm.
So then you would move that up there. Now you're zero. So your carryover technically should be zero,
Mm-hmm. Right.
unless unless you're breaking out bills. So for example, a lot of times people's budget when they do it doesn't work, but when they move payments around, it works better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's one thing people forget. They forget to call the credit card company or call the company and say, can I move my payment date?
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're
Mm-hmm.
not going to do it a whole lot, but they will do it at least once or twice for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I strongly recommend that folks do that. So that was pretty much it on the budgeting side of it. Any questions?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I've been doing it. I typically, I mean, I did use the app for a while, but like I said, I did like it more broken down. So I did buy my own little, you know, calendar thing. So we
Right,
go through and we sit down and we have our little meeting together, our little
right,
budget meeting together. And I write down everything that we're paying for this pay period and that pay period. Um, but just food is always our biggest thing that is hard for me to gauge and us to stick to. That's our biggest thing, because food prices fluctuate. It's hard to find things on sale
yep,
that work, that
yep,
wasn't before. And it just
right,
is so never, it's too fluid. So
right,
I do
right,
find that one to be harder to
yep,
budget than, of course, because I know all my utility bills, I know my rent, like I know all that stuff that's set in stone.
right.
So the food part's harder for me to always kind of.
So is it harder because the fluctuations, or you shop with a list? I'm assuming.
Yes, we shop with a list, but we're not like meal planners. Like, I don't know what we're gonna have the whole week.
Right, right.
We do a lot of shopping either daily or a couple days. Um, so we don't plan for like a whole week of meals.
Okay, okay. We um, we do use a meal company, um, but I just got notice that the prices are going up, so we're gonna have to decide if we're gonna continue with that.
Mm.
Um, but then we know we get free meals a week
Ah,
that are planned. Okay,
that's nice.
um, and with the three of us, then we all sit down and eat together. So that's three times a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the problem is when you go with the meal planning companies, you can usually get two meals or four meals, and so two meals is not enough for the three of us, but four meals gives Rita lunch for the next day.
Right. Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
So So that's what we do there. And we've tried a couple different of them. We went with something fresh, something
Oh, HelloFresh.
HelloFresh, um, and but getting away from too much meat, then everything had chickpeas in it, and and so not I'm not real we're not real fond of that. So
Right, right.
we're trying one now. It's Chef AMI. Um, they seem to be okay. The meals are okay, um, but like they shorted us a tomato, an orange, something out of one meal. Three different things out of one meal.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're so, um, uh, I'm just one. I'll make do. I'll find something to make it work. So,
Yeah.
but it's just it is kind of different. So, um, and that helps us. Now, the other thing that we do that see we juice every morning.
Oh, okay.
So our juice consists of celery, cucumbers, green apples, and ginger. Um, the celery helps drive down your cholesterol numbers and all that kind of good stuff. It helps balance your cholesterol out. So, and just a couple other things, thyroid and all that kind of stuff. So, um, so we've been doing that for quite some time. But your celery is almost $2 a stalk at Winn-Dixie right now. If I'm over by Aldi, it's less expensive, but I'm not
Mm-hmm.
always over there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right,
so then it boils down to, does it cost me more money to drive over there?
right.
So, or did I pay the extra?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, um, and I don't usually buy more than 6 stalks at a time because they'll start to go bad. Six
Mm-hmm.
stalks is 3 days. So the next, after the debt snowball, and you understand how that works?
Yes, we did that. We are debt free.
Okay, awesome. Awesome,
Yes.
awesome, awesome. So where are you at? The next step, obviously, is we'll get into this here. I think that's it there. Yep. Um, uh, is 3 to 6 months of expenses in a fully funded emergency fund. So with that, you have to know what your monthly expenses are. The more you have, the more you're protected against stuff like COVID and things like that. Now, I don't know,
Right.
what happened with you guys during COVID, um, and jobs and things like that. But um, if you have 3 to 6 months, you're going to be safe, right?
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, we need to work on that. We got through our regular, just the $1,000 emergency fund.
uh-huh.
We did have that, and we actually did have to break into that recently because we had issues with our debit account um, having an unauthorized charge on it,
Oh
and we
no.
told them it was unauthorized, and then they shut down our account
Mhm.
without us knowing. But they're
Right.
like, "Oh yeah, we're going to send you new cards, but by the way, the ones you have now are not going to work." So we had to go. Luckily, our emergency fund was in a different bank,
Ah,
which we
okay.
didn't even think about. But that's like
Yeah.
that ended up being a good thing in this example because we had to use that. We
Yeah.
had to, so
Yeah.
now we have to.
I have a couple folks who have moved over to so their emergency funds are with Edward Jones. Um, I have a financial advisor that I work with quite often, Doris Mueller, and she it's a it's an interest bearing checking account for their emergency fund.
Hmm.
And I can't remember. I don't remember, all the particulars on it. I do know that everybody that uses her is just happy with her. So, um,
And you can pull that out at any point.
yeah, it's a check. I think you actually have a debit card.
Oh, okay. For some
Yeah,
reason, like when I hear that, I imagine it being more of like a CD type situation. You're
yep,
putting away something that you can't touch if you need it, or
yeah.
you know.
No, and Doris knows that that's if people come to her and say that it's for their emergency fund, she will help them get that set up. I think there's a minimum. I think it's $250.
Okay.
I think. Um, I'll send you her information too.
Okay.
But when you call her or you talk to her, tell her I sent you because she does sell products that I don't endorse.
Okay.
But if I send you and she knows I sent you, then she's not going to sell them to you.
I think you did send me her
Okay.
information when we had our 30-minute
Oh, okay.
consultation.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly,
Yep.
I think it was her.
Could be. Yeah. If it was a financial advisor, it was her. Um, she does real good for my folks. I have some of the first people I worked with when I moved down here.
It's dinner
Um,
time.
they both make six figures. Had no clue where all the money was going.
Mm,
None. And then after the first 9 months, they paid off $39,000 worth of student loans.
wow.
So, um, so, so anyway, 3 to 6 months worth of emergency fund, and it keeps you on that um, savings where you're paying yourself first, right?
Hmm.
Um, the wise man saves for the future. The foolish man spends whatever he gets. That's Proverbs 21:20. Um, uh, Part of our problem as human beings is the comparison game.
Hmm.
Okay, so um, and the best way to describe it is, especially from a male perspective, is pulling up to a stoplight with the guy in the Lamborghini next to you, or
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying, or the Mustang, or whatever it is that trips your trigger when it comes to cars. Well, here's the thing. You might have noticed the Lamborghini or the Mustang, but as soon as you pulled away from the stop sign, you forgot about it.
Hmm.
So you lived in that comparison for a few seconds, but you also planted a seed.
Mm.
And so we really have to really stay away from comparisons. Um, Once again, Murphy's Law, if it can go wrong, it will. you
Yeah.
know? So um, now you guys are, um, uh, is Jason on salary or does he work on commission?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So he has more stable income, so he should be pretty good. The thing with emergency fund is we always have to look at it. It's like we're becoming self-insured. Okay. And
Hmm.
so, um, uh, and if you use somebody like Doris, and I know the interest rate is not all that high, but at least,
No, it's not. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I
but
mean,
at
just in
least,
general, they're not like,
yeah, but at least there's something there. And if it's at a different location, you have to think about using it.
right. Right.
So, and there again, like you said, if something happens to your regular account, you still
Hmm.
have that. Um, so let's see here. That was just the exercise. Um, I can't remember. I, I'm having trouble pulling this out and doing my own PowerPoint. Um, I was able to do it lessons 1 and 2,
Hmm.
um, but for some reason I just couldn't pull this out. So the action steps actually calculate how much you need for the fully funded emergency fund. Okay, um, and figure out how much you're going to put in every month. Um, all your snowball money should be going to the emergency fund. And people get ahead of themselves here because they say, okay, it's time to start investing for retirement. No, it's if you don't have the 3 to 6 months emergency fund,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to end up pulling out of retirement, and that's going to cost you money. And
Hmm.
that's why especially with the way the economy is right now, with the way things are, doesn't matter what your politics are or anything like that. Inflation is going, go to the grocery store.
Right.
Two
Right.
99 a gallon for regular gas today.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
um, so, uh, so 3 to 6 months. So you got to figure out how much you actually need for 6 months, and get gazelle intense about that. and get that built up. And then we get into the next steps, the next baby steps, which 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Mm-hmm.
So those are, come on. Um, Let me move this. And this is where with kids, how old are the kids?
They range from 5 to 24.
Okay. So you're not really worried about the 24-year-old in college, right?
No, but we're having to pay for a wedding.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
But not college. No, he tried it and he was like, nah.
Okay.
So, um,
So um, once you have that um, emergency fund, okay, so let's back up. Let's talk about the wedding. Do you have it money set aside for it, or
yes, we do.
okay,
We've already made plans for that.
okay,
Yes.
okay, um, uh, cool. What does he do?
He also works at Lowe's.
Okay, okay,
Yep. We're actually trying to get him to go to a position that opened up at a Spring Hill store that would be more of a set schedule, like a Monday through Friday. It would be closer to his house.
right,
So we'll see about that. But
okay.
yeah.
So 4, 5, 6, and 7 is where you start getting into the wealth building side of your income. So um, now, and this is where I tend to send people to Doris. So depending on what you're doing for your kids for school, are you homeschooling them? Are you they go to public
Uh,
school,
right
private,
now they go to a charter school.
to a charter school?
Yes.
Okay, and so now explain to me how that works in Florida. Is it is there tuition?
No, no tuition. Just you have to do a lottery to get in.
Okay,
Um, so we're already in and set for it. And our this charter school goes to all through high school, and they actually are an early college high school. So
okay,
the everyone who's in that high school is involved in dual enrollment. So
okay,
the first 2 years of college will be paid for also through the program.
okay,
So we don't have to pay for the associate's degree.
okay. Cool, 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 cool. So, um, quality of education. Does it meet your standards? Does it meet
Yes, we love it.
your
We love it.
beliefs and all that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Um, they're not teaching critical race theory, right?
No. No.
um, so, um, and this is where you people talk about. So, do I invest my household income in retirement? Do I take care of the kids' college funds? Um, Now, you guys are renting, correct?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Um, is there an idea to buy at some point in time, or
Yes, that is actually what we planned on um saving up for after the 3 to 6 months was
okay?
our house fund. Hopefully, our dream, of course, would be to build,
Hmm.
but you know, I don't know.
At this point in time, only if Jason can get a good deal on lumber.
Yeah, right,
I'll tell you what,
right.
it's insane.
Yes,
Um,
that's true.
the market is crazy. Um, here's the thing. What's your timeline?
Um, he kind of figured it all out, but I always like to add a couple more years.
Uh huh.
Um, I know we are planning on renting this place for at least 2 years.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. I think he was thinking like 5 or so.
Okay. So here's a question. Um, Based on today's market, what size home are you looking at? What price range? If you were to build today,
Um, it would have to be probably about at least a 4 bedroom,
okay.
if not more than that. I mean, he was dreaming, like, oh, we'll have a room for every kid, but um,
Well, and
I
here's
don't
the
know.
thing: you're probably looking at least 350,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, in order to get the best interest rates and everything else, when you buy, you need at least 20% down. So, $300,000, 20% down is $60,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, at being debt free and you have 6 months worth of emergency fund, and now you start building towards the down payment, how much uh, how much per month is going to be going towards the down payment, and that's how you can figure out how long you're going to be there. Now, if you uh, are putting away $1,000 a month, that's
Mm-hmm.
60 months. That's 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so um, so those are things you want to think of when you're looking at how long it's going to take. The other thing is you probably should be putting that into a fund that does generate some interest.
Okay.
So you have your you have I'm going to go on the assumption of 6 months just because if you do that, you're safe. And in
Mm-hmm.
all
Mm-hmm.
honesty, when you get to a place where okay, we have almost the down payment, but if we take 1 or 2 months out of the 6 month emergency fund, we have it
Mm.
because then you can turn around and build back up to 6 months. And it will probably the dollar amount will probably change how much you need based on whatever your house payment may be. Okay,
Right.
so um, so you always have that buffer. Um, and we got into a big discussion with this with some of the coaches as to whether or not that's wise to do. And
Mm.
my point is this: it says 3 to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
If a deal comes up that is really good, and if they take out 3 months worth of the emergency fund, and that gives them a total of 20% or more down, that's a wise decision.
Right.
My opinion. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, and along with that, if the goal is to buy the house, and then especially if the kids are getting 2 years worth of college education,
Mm-hmm.
so now you're looking at how much is college really going to cost? And
Right.
are they all going to go?
Right.
Um, and that's where Doris comes in that, like the client that they were making 6 figures. I asked him, I said, so um, what if I think the oldest name was Emily. What if she wants to be a welder or an electrician?
Mm-hmm.
You have her all set up to go to university.
Right.
And he said, "Oh, I never thought about that." I said, "Yeah." I said, "In today's society, you have," and so Doris changed everything around. So now, whatever the girls decide they want to do, and if they don't go to school, I think he's got it set up. If they don't go to school when they turn 21, they get the money.
Mm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then, so with all of that, that's where you need to sit down and we need to look at what your ultimate goals are. What are your priority goals?
Mm-hmm.
If your priority goal is to buy a house and then fund the kids' college fund as they go, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't know between baby steps 4, 5, 6, and 7 what the priority is, then you're going to get a little out of kilter. Okay. Um,
Right. Yeah, no, I would definitely say the house.
yeah. And so, and if you're both on the same page, um, then you get there faster. So let me ask you this: how involved are your kids when it comes to your finances and your budget?
I would say not. I mean, they see us sitting down for our meetings and stuff, but they don't come. and they don't sit and listen.
Why not?
They just know that we're doing it, but they don't know what we do.
Okay. Why not?
I don't know.
Did your mom and dad talk to you about money?
No, not really. I
Did
mean,
Jason's?
I had my little checkbook, and I learned how to use my little checkbook, and I, would watch, take care of my checking account, but that's about it. Like,
Okay. So what's the harm in teaching the kids? So now I don't know if you do like allowances or anything like that with the kids if they have to earn it or whatever. Okay. Um,
yes, they do babysitting and
okay.
stuff like that for us, and they get
Okay.
money for
And
that.
and so um, how do you expect them to learn about budgeting and finances if they don't sit down with you and help while you're doing it and see what you're doing?
Hmm. Yeah, I just never thought about it. It's a good idea.
So here's okay, this is my thought process and philosophy. We have issues in our country because my generation and my parents' generation was in polite conversation, you do not talk religion, politics, or money.
Hmm.
What are the three biggest issues that we're facing in our country today? Religion,
Hmm.
politics, and money.
Hmm.
And so, if we had had two generations where we talked reasonably and intelligently about it, then we wouldn't be where we're at. We wouldn't have radicals on one side or the other controlling the thought process. We wouldn't have 1% or 2% of the population dictating public policy.
Hmm.
Um, but and it's just the way we were raised. It's the way our parents were raised, our grandparents were raised. And if you stop and think, if you go back two generations, what was going on? World War II
Or
and
sports. Hmm.
Great Depression. Okay,
Hmm.
and
Loosely up sink ships.
yeah, exactly. And um, so in order to change the generational cycle, we need to be including our kids. I know that my folks up in their Spring Hill, I think, or Zephyr Hills, I can't remember how their address comes up, but what they did with their house payment, because they're working on paying off their house. Okay, they're debt free. Like I said, they're the ones that six figures and had no idea where all the money was going.
Mm.
So they took, and you know the like the construction paper chains you would make as kids to put on the Christmas trees and stuff like that. At least we did anyway, because
Yes.
that's all we had
Hmm.
money for, right? Um, each one is a house payment,
Mm.
and then they have. I can't remember how she worked it out, but they've got it to where if they make an extra payment, it's a set amount. It's either $100 or $200. I can't remember, and so they pull them off too. And
Wow.
I think they've got it working. Um, one side is extra payments, and the other side is the mortgage payments. I think that's how they
Okay.
got it, so it goes down to zero. And I have had some folks who do a thermometer, you know, and it's a visual tool to the kids that say,
Mm.
you know, and so now you have a conversation about money. So say you're looking at a house that you know is going to be between $300,000 and $400,000. Just
Hmm.
saying, if you're looking at 4 or 5 bedrooms, and depending on where you're looking and if you're going to build, that's probably where you're going to be. Okay,
Okay.
so let's shoot for say $70,000 down payment. So maybe you do a thermometer.
Hmm.
Says, okay, we have $1,000. Here's little red down here. The goal up here is $70,000. So every time you put money in, you raise that thermometer.
Okay.
Now it's a visual for everybody to see.
Right.
Sometimes it moves a little, sometimes it moves a lot. But you have the visual that, so the kids can get excited about something. And it opens up a conversation with the kids about money.
Okay. That's a great idea.
And in all honesty, the number one cause of divorce, separation, whatever you want to call it in the United States, is financial.
Mm.
It just it is. So
Yeah.
so um, So when it comes to 4, 5, 6, and 7, that is going to be totally up to you guys as far as how you're going to move them around.
Mhm.
Um, the prevailing thought is do them in order 4, 5, 6, and 7. But when you're looking at purchasing a home in there, you have to change some things around. So it really, it's all up to you guys as to how you want to proceed with those steps.
Mhm.
Um, I would encourage you though to do some, invite the kids. How old are the kids that are at home?
5, 7, 10, 13, and 14.
Okay, 7, 10, 13, and 14, definitely. The 5-year-old, you know, um, you may keep his interest for a few minutes or her
Right.
interest. Okay. What about 24-year-old? How's he with money?
Um, well, we did kind of go over what we've learned in financial peace, and it took him off. It was a little almost like offensive because we've all gotten so used to having high credit, how important it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it almost was like he kind of felt like he was now doing something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
because we were just telling him about what we were learning, and
Yep.
what we were working on and stuff like that. So it was almost like, what? Like,
Yeah.
am I doing this stuff wrong now?
Yeah.
Because he just bought a house and like,
Mm-hmm.
so it was kind of a tougher concept and conversation with him.
So why not invite him to a budget meeting and his fiance?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're going to have to be on the same page.
Right.
And you can almost guarantee that her parents didn't talk to her about money.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
um, and I find when I've counseled and coached couples who are getting ready to get married, um, somebody's hiding something.
Mm. Yeah.
So, I mean, um, uh, Dave, Dave said that the first time he met Rachel's husband, um, uh, he asked him something about his credit score or all this kind of stuff. And fortunately for him, Rachel had warned him, and Dave Ramsey and everything else, and so
Right.
but they really had, before they got married, they had to have some really hard conversations because he didn't believe what Dave was teaching.
Mm.
Credit score is everything and yada yada yada. And
Mm-hmm.
never looked at it from the fact that your credit score is based on how much you owe and how much money, how often you're using the bank. Um, so yeah, there's and now, so there are ways, especially um, uh, when it comes to looking to buy a house. Okay, yes, there are outfits out there that are not going to they're not going to care about your credit score. Centennial, or one of those companies that Dave works with, is pretty good.
Mm.
And then there's a guy down in Tampa, Pete Herinsky, I think is his name. Um, he understands what the philosophy behind financial peace. And there's a
Okay.
couple guys around here I've dealt with because I use a title agent. I recommend her a lot because she's really sharp with that kind of stuff. Um, but you really have to think about what you're doing when it comes to your credit score. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if you're looking to get a better interest rate with your credit score, then you better be very, very intelligent with your use of credit. Um, most people do not have the self discipline. That's why we cut up the credit cards, do all that kind of
Right.
stuff.
Right.
So, but anyway, that's conversation for later on down the road. But if I would seriously invite them over, sit around and, have nachos and talk about the budget and and show them what you do. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
example. I mean, it's our job as parents to teach them.
Well, and
And
we had thought about even, setting them up with a class and stuff like the whole course, just so they
yep,
could go through everything too.
we are going to run another set of courses in the fall.
Oh, okay, great.
So
That's
the
good to
same
know.
way you guys got in, it'll be the same type of link. You get in, and there won't be a charge.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, but I would, yeah, that would probably be good for them. But if they've watched, and you just say, hey, we're going to do a budget meeting. Just come and see how we do this, and
Mm-hmm.
then you and Jason have to be open and honest and have the discussion. And I who's the geek and who's the free spirit?
I'm the geek.
You're the geek. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and one of the things uh, that if Jason is truly a free spirit, he's pretty much going to say, "Oh, okay, whatever," you know.
Mm-hmm.
But he can't. You know, the free spirit one of the things Dave says, the free spirit has to change something on the budget, and the geek has to let them do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Mm-hmm.
but it really does. It opens up communication. So, that might be a wise thing to do is to invite him into the next budget meeting and say, "Look, we're not expecting you to do this,
Mm-hmm.
but we want you to come and see how it's helped us."
Okay.
So, and it's make it a fun family night. But I would really consider getting the kids involved.
Okay. That's
So,
a great idea.
yeah. So we're about at the end of our time. You have any questions that I can answer?
Um, I don't think so. I think I'm good with everything we kind of went over for tonight.
Okay. So I will, if I've got this fixed, I'll send you the link to this one and to last week's.
Okay.
I'll send you the copy of the weekly spending sheet. Um, so is that 10 best all-inclusive resorts in Cuba? Is that what that is
I don't
behind you?
know. It could be, but I like the picture.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that they had any that you could go to now.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know, but
Yeah. So when we went to Mexico, that's what we did. We did an all-inclusive. Had a blast.
oh,
It was it was
nice.
just, I mean, and so the price included everything, food, drinks,
That's
everything.
great.
It was awesome. Um, so if you
It's
don't
just
have any
one way to
questions,
totally relax because you don't have to worry about
yeah,
anything. Yeah.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was I think we did a snorkeling thing. We did a few things. We basically sat on the beach and ate and drank and swam.
Nice.
That was
That
it.
sounds
It was
great.
it was totally relaxing. Yeah, yeah. I had a blast. It took me a while. It took me about 3 days to wind down to relax enough. My wife,
Mhm.
if you ask her about our trip to Mexico, yeah, So it took him 3 days. So anyway, but yeah, we had a blast once we.
That's great.
So okay, well, I enjoyed our conversations. I will send you the links
Okay.
and the worksheets, and we'll go from there.
All right, great. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Talia. Have a good night.
All right, you too.
Be blessed. Bye bye.
Bye.